Technology.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Technology.
I was hoping
my
to be
gosh.
able to do this on my computer, but this will work. We'll make this work.
You're on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. Oh, yeah. You can't do it on your computer.
Yeah.
They really want it all on the phone. First of all, let me start and then we'll get going. So let me do the intro. And hi, everybody. My name is Ben, the creator of the Beanie Sleeper, the head wrap with a built-in sleep mask that blocks light and keeps your head warm and comfortable without overheating. Welcome to Sleeping with Ben, where I talk to interesting people about their lives. My guest today is my friend and mentor, Ross Miller. Yay! So Ross is an entrepreneur, creator of Sherpa Enterprises. He's a mentor, he's a dad, and he's so much more than that. Hi, Ross. How are you?
Doing all right, Ben. How you doing?
I'm fine. I know you've been not feeling too well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share that, but you haven't been feeling too well.
Yeah, I actually was diagnosed with COVID on Monday. It all started last Friday. So yeah, it's been rough. But...
And yet you're here. I mean, that's very nice of you. And I think that's, if anything, that really just shows a real entrepreneurial spirit, a kind of get her done type, nothing stops me, that kind of a thing, which is pretty amazing. So you have this extensive resume, and I really just mentioned a few things. So before we get into any of that, in our pre-interview, I found out something that you were into punk rock and were in a band. Is that correct?
Yeah, nothing compared to your guest last week, but I pale in comparison to him. But but in the late '80s, I was into punk rock, and there was quite a punk rock scene here in Peoria, and I had a good friend of mine who was involved in that, and he got me into a band. And of course I was playing bass because every band needs a bass player, and nobody wants to play bass. So yeah, it was fun times. So
did you do, were you like the full regalia, the hair, what is it, like leather with spikes, or what was your take on the garb, the dress for punk?
Mine was the hair, not dyed because my parents wouldn't go for that, but I had long hair down to my eyes, short in the back, and the trench coat and the combat boots, and that was what I was, the chains and the trench coat.
And now you were in a band, so did you guys play just in the town, just in Peoria, or did you guys actually have like real gigs or paying gigs?
That band was strictly a getting a demo tape done type of band.
Oh, wow. Okay.
After that, I quit it just because I really didn't get along with the guys. There was a few other bands I was more into retro rock, old rock, that I played a few gigs around town. And then in college, I played a little bit more extensively on the college scene.
So it did last you through a significant part of college?
Yes.
The playing?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes.
What I find so interesting is that in order to be a really good mentor or to be a good entrepreneur, to be successful, you have to have a level of creativity, right? Otherwise, you would just be another accountant punching numbers or something punching numbers. Now, one thing I want to get into, and that's definitely your entrepreneurship, but I want to go back a little bit. So in college, you're in the band, you're being creative, but you're not into being an entrepreneur at that time. That wasn't even on your radar, right?
Right.
So
I didn't really have a lot of exposure to entrepreneurs until I started working at the college newspaper and advertising. And then I had a good career in advertising through a few different companies, got to meet a lot of great entrepreneurs. And that really kind of endeared them to me.
Yeah.
Just getting to know them, getting to understand their personalities, getting to understand what made them tick was a lot of fun.
I'm curious. So you're hanging out with entrepreneurs, you're getting to know them, what makes them tick. I'm thinking back to what you just said about that you didn't get along with the bandmates, and that's when you had to leave. And I find that when you're working in teams, there has to be a real cohesiveness in teams, especially with startup teams.
Right.
I mean, can you compare the two and go, well, we just weren't mind melding in the band, but I like the way they do it as entrepreneurs. What was your feeling on that?
Well, it all depends. A lot of it depends on personalities and how people fit together, right? And with entrepreneurs and with startups, you really have to have a great team that is in there, and you don't all have to be entrepreneurs. You need to have one visionary, the entrepreneur, and then you have to have that at least one person with them that's the doer, because the entrepreneurs are constantly coming up with great ideas. The doer is the one who's going to get things moving forward, and a lot of times you can find really creative entrepreneurs that haven't found success yet, mainly because they haven't found that doer, that person who's gonna just dig in the dirt and get things done with them. And it's hard. A lot of people want to go it alone. A lot of people want to do their own thing. But it's a lot easier if they can team up with somebody who has that certain core expertise that can get inspired by that vision and then get out there and start making things happen.
I gotta say, for me in my situation, I am a solopreneur. But even my last two companies, I was a solopreneur. But I really do find the need for other people. And that's why I've really reached out to mentors and to other people within this world to kind of help me along the way. And one thing I love about that is people like you who are so willing to help, and for no other reason than just to help, which is kind of incredible in today's world. You know, I coach people who are just starting out, like really, really newbies. And I tell them that there are people who want to help just for the sake of helping. And their jaw drops because that's not been their experience. But in this world, I find it to be more of the rule rather than the exception.
Right. And a little bit of advice here and there doesn't cost me a whole lot of time, doesn't cost me a whole lot of effort, because I eat and breathe this stuff, right? Now, if you ask me, hey, Ross, now get me installed into 50 regional shops in the Midwest. Okay, well, there's going to be a price tag that's going to be attached to that, because that's going to be a lot more extensive. Right. But giving people advice and pointing them in a direction and saying, hey, have you thought about this, or have you looked into that? That's just common courtesy to help people and to see them grow and to see them succeed. And I really enjoy seeing. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs succeed over the years, and that's paying itself.
That's pretty incredible. I think I love the part about just you love watching those entrepreneurs grow and seeing where their businesses are going. I mean, I find it actually incredible, the journey that people take, because I think, I mean, you know, to be an entrepreneur is to be a risk taker, and to be a mentor is to be a risk taker, because you're participating and you're taking up your time. And I just think it's incredible all the way around. I want to ask you about the Small Business Development Center. Now, you're no longer there, but you were there for nearly 20 years. And if you can tell everybody what that is, and then my question is, how did you change from when you started to when you left? 20 years is a long time. So first, what is the Small Business Development Company? And then how did you change from beginning to the end?
So the Small Business Development Centers is a national program. It's funded by the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And then they make agreements with, usually it's one group in every state. California and Texas have multiple, but they make an agreement with one lead center. And then that lead center makes or funds sub-centers across the state. So I went in one of the largest ones in Illinois. And so I encourage all your listeners, if you're interested in getting free advice, but not only free advice, but advice from certified business advisors, go talk to your local Small Business Development Center. And they define it, small business is everything, almost everything under 500 employees. So small business can be pretty large that they're working with. But they do work with a lot of startups. How I changed over those 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, when you start, you went in probably with some kind of idea of what things were going to be. We all do when we start a new adventure. And I'm curious what that was, and then what it was when you left. If you can remember, that's a long time.
Well, one of the things that we always joke about was when we started, everything was, hey, you want to start up a business? Here, write a 40-page business plan. And then come back to us, and then we'll evaluate that. And then probably well, for me, it was definitely in 2016, everything started moving towards the business model canvas and really putting down hypothesis of, this is how I think the business is going to work. Now go out and test that against customers. Do customer discovery questions and really understand what your customer is going through. Because as a startup, you're really in search of a repeatable, scalable business model. You really don't know what that's going to be, but your customer does. And so wasting your time on putting together a 40-page business plan isn't going to work. Now, at the same time, a lot of people need financing. And so when you go to a bank for financing, they're going to need to see that 40-page business plan. And it shouldn't be 40 pages. It should be about 12. But really, that business plan is going to be based off everything that you learned from doing the business model canvas and doing the customer discovery interviews.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. When I created Faster Pants, that was the first thing I was told to do, was to create a business plan, and I did, and it was expensive because I didn't do it. I had to hire somebody because I knew nothing, and I think you would probably, if you could slap me, you would. I paid $700 to have somebody. I know, because I knew nothing. I had no idea. I'm like, oh, this is how you do it. So, but now, I mean, we're really talking about like the lean startup methodology.
Correct.
Right? Of build, learn, that kind of a thing. I think that's really great advice to kind of like take your idea, get it out there, see who wants it. And, you know, a big test, and I tell people all the time, is who wants to pay for it?
Yes.
Not just who likes it. Who's going to pay for it?
Right.
That's real. Is somebody willing to put down their money?
That's your test, because people will lie to you all the time and say, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. But until they actually fork over some cash, then you know it's a good idea.
It was honestly, it was like that with Beanie Sleeper. I had a lot of people say, oh, this, that, it should be this, should be that. And I was like, thank you very much. And the moment I started to have sales, I was like, what do you think? How could this be better? Right? Because they were putting down the cash. Mm-hmm. And it really does change your whole perspective from like a fantasy in a sense of what I think it's going to be to actually what it is.
Right. Right.
One thing I really want to talk about now is I want to talk about Sherpa. I want to talk about that I'm going to say this. Sherpa is your first real business as an entrepreneur. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, and you did this in 2019.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you were a bit more mature. You like how I said that? You like how I said that? A bit more mature. Because and I'm bringing this up because I think it's a testament about not just age and maturity, but experience, life experience. Because, you know, my dad, I think I told you this, my dad was 50 when he stepped away from his solid 9-to-5 to start his own company. Mm-hmm. And that was way back in the day. And I was in my early 40s when I started. But we hear 20-something, you know, these 20-somethings who party in Silicon Valley. But you stepped out in 2019. I have no idea how old you are. You don't need to tell me. But you were mature. What was that like? And how do you think that helped?
It helped because of all the experience and all the connections that that I already had. At that point in time, I had been at Bradley for it was right at 19 years, and that I started the company, and it was really kind of a sense of I really don't have any place further to go. Bradley, my kids were going to be graduating soon. I was still able to work part-time for Bradley and then be able to do my own things on the side. And so it was really kind of, this is the time that I need to step out and do this. And that was kind of the, now it's always easy to say that, but when you're at the edge of that cliff and you're ready to step off, there's always that hesitation of, oh, wait, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have a family, you have kids, you have college, you have a mortgage. Right. You know, your responsibilities are so different than when you're 20-something or even 30-something. I have to say this before we move on. My mother was also an entrepreneur. When I was 12, she opened up her first beauty supply store. I have to say that, otherwise I'm going to get crap when she sees this. So love you, Mom. So, so you entered when you started Sherpa Enterprises. I mean, you entered it very soberly. It wasn't a whim. It was very thought out. Is that fair to say?
Correct. I had already had one client that I'd been working with for almost a year that was brought in, and then I was lining up a second client, and there was a project that I was working on. So rolling into 2020, everything was looking great, and then COVID happened. And
until it wasn't.
And then it wasn't. So yeah, it was kind of a slap in the face. Once COVID hit, because my big client went away, the project ended. I still had my other client that I'd been working with for a while and still working with. It was definitely I had to pivot in the middle of that whole thing, and that became very difficult.
You know, I love this idea about pivot or persevere. You know, I mean, I know people who have stalled, who they just stall because they don't know how to pivot. And you have to be really open to do that and to not be so dug in on your idea or where you thought it should go. And so I think that's pretty amazing when I find people who do that. So tell me about Sherpa. It's a consultancy company. You consult?
Well, it was mainly designed to be where getting out of the Small Business Development Center, I did not want to get into the consulting game.
Okay.
So the whole concept behind Sherpa is that I would join startups, come alongside an entrepreneur, and say, not only add consulting or give them ideas of what they need to do next, kind of lay out, you need to do X, Y, and Z. I will do X and Y, you do Z, and we'll move on together, right? We'll get up this hill, we'll get up this mountain together, and I'm going to carry part of the load with you. And so that's always been the concept, where I would never have a whole lot of clients, but I would have long-term embedded engagements with clients.
I think what's incredible about this, Ross, is that you're not just standing over there pointing, going, no, do that. You're in it.
Correct.
You're in it. Their success is your success. Their failure is your failure. That's a different twist on consultancy for sure. I don't think I've ever heard that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody do that. That's amazing.
And it's a risk. You have to evaluate who you're getting into the business with. And it definitely involves a lot more of a personal relationship with those entrepreneurs. But it's also, like you said, very rewarding to be able to get people up to that goal, to the top of that mountain that they're looking for.
Do you vet them as if you were like a VC? Because it sounds like, you don't want to get involved with something that is sketchy, but they're not going to have much of a track record, I think, at this level. Or is there a certain level you enter in on? Can you explain that process?
It'll depend on the client, obviously, but I probably to a fair extent, yes, it's more of understanding where the fit is, and really seeing where people take your initial advice and what they do with it from there, right? Because you don't want to work with somebody who isn't going to take the hard advice or take the hard path that's probably the best for them. If they avoid that, then it's probably not somebody you want to work with. If they're just looking for somebody just to do all the work, that doesn't really work either. So it's really got to be a good, healthy relationship between both parties to really say, okay, yes, this is something that we want to get into.
And because you're a part of the company, are you an equity part of the company? Or is this like a fee-for-service type of thing?
My preference is to be an equity part of the company.
But it doesn't always do that. Sometimes you're an equity partner, sometimes it's more of a fee-for-service. So it can be both?
Correct. It can be both.
Gotcha. And how many are you working with now? You're only one person.
Right.
How much of you can you split?
So right now, I only have one client that works directly with Sherpa. I am working in November. I decided to take a full-time job to take some of the pressure off of off of Sherpa so that I didn't have to make bad commitments in order to pay the mortgage, right?
Yeah. So. I hear you, the mortgage. So I got to ask you, this is something that also came out in our pre-interview, and that you have an issue, my friend, with the word yes.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting because it was on your CV. I mean, for something to be on your CV, it has to be, it's heavy, it's real. So is it just that you're so nice, you don't want to say no to anybody? Is it your default is yes? Talk to me about that really quick.
So yes. So to an extent, it is about trying to help people and saying yes too often, because I've discovered along the way that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to about a dozen other things, right? The opportunity costs mount up. And so there are a lot of times I really enjoy saying yes, like saying yes to this opportunity to talk with you today. And then, but at the same time, every time that you say yes, well, now there's opportunities that you can't take advantage of. So it was a number of different things that have pointed me to this direction. And it's something that I really have to start considering. Am I good at it? No, I'm terrible at it.
So it's still a struggle.
I'm still struggling.
You need like you're a yesaholic. You need a 12-step to help you break this. But I will say this. I mean, personally, I am incredibly grateful that you said yes to work with me and offer me your advice and your knowledge with Beanie Sleeper. Our monthly meetings, they just mean so much to me, because you're just incredible. You're very thoughtful about what you say, and you're very kind, and that means a lot to me. So thank you for that, and thank you for doing the show. I have my last question, and then we'll wrap it up, is what are your sleep rituals? COVID's really messed a lot of things up for a lot of people. You know, the added pressures were locked down, all this kind of stuff. So do you have any specific sleep rituals that you've learned or that you do now?
Well, one, always going to bed, right? And two,
going to bed.
and two, listening to YouTube videos. Specifically, I'm a big fan of history. So I listen to history YouTube videos.
That's really cool. I actually like YouTube videos too. I do woodworking, like the the ones who carve the spinning thing, the wood turning. I don't do it with any volume. I just watch it and I'm out. I don't know what that says about those wood turning things, but they knock me out like that. Ross, thank you so much, man. This is awesome. You're wearing your Beanie Sleeper, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
You're not feeling well, and yet you're still here. Just incredible. Thank you so much for joining us. And I wanted to say a big thanks to Ross for the cuddle today, and thank you to everybody who continues to support me and this channel and Beanie Sleeper. And if you are looking for a Beanie Sleeper for yourself or to support a friend or family member, you can go to beaniesleeper.com or just click on my profile. And I just want to say thanks again and have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Rob.